Hey, thanks for checking out the video. If you all like it, please like and subscribe, and hope you all enjoy it. Have a great rest of the day. Hey y'all, hope you all are having a good day today. Right now I'm actually at the Kings Mountain Historical Museum in downtown Kings Mountain. This is actually a pretty cool little site. It's nothing too crazy, but really cool. A lot of cool things going on here. This is actually their little World War II event going on here. As you can see, their little encampment down there. I'm going to kind of go a little bit over a little bit of what they're doing in just a little bit, but for the time being, this is a cool little site here. This is the Barber House. They also have some exhibits up there that occasionally change about. This house was actually a cool little site. Oh, well, I don't know what they have going on down there though, but maybe they have something going on. Let's go check it out.
Check on learning. You ready? Group attention. Extend to the left. Actually, as I was. In close order. Extend to the left. Mark. You're gonna put your left arm, right? Extend your left arm. Now you're gonna touch your hip. Touch your hip. Like you're going to the mall, right? You're gonna touch your hip. Your elbow should be touching the other guy's arm. Go all the way out with your arm. And your hand's gonna come down. Touch your hip. Just like that. See? So, and you're gonna dress to the right, right? So what side should you be shimmying? To the right. To the right. So adjust properly. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, drop your arm. Yeah. So his elbow.
You guys got a ring?
It's gonna be touching your elbow. Yes. Your elbow. Yep.
I'm at the end.
Yes. Brain structure matters. Small fingers. Yeah. Should be over here.
Okay, there.
Yes. Yeah. Adjust. There you go. Well, there you go. All right. Let me see your left elbow. And just split this in. Yep. Dress it down. Elbows, dress it down. Let's go back to the attention, guys. Yep, sorry. My bad.
You can relax.
Color guard. Post. Present arms. Order arms. At ease. So the crowd doesn't look too big right now. Yeah, so what we're gonna do, just do a quick walkthrough, just make sure we got all the farming stuff out, using our stations. It doesn't look too bad right now. We got a couple of things to pull out, get displayed. All hands on deck for this. We are very behind. That's really all
do have some medical stuff as well.
I only have my bare minimum medical
Okay.
stuff.
That's fine. So if we have to space it out, but
You have something to
where
play?
did you go? No.
It's like a walking display. We've got
Just
stuff.
all the gears in the bag, and then Billy working on
Have
the
you seen
gears.
these little self-care?
Well, that was cool. I wasn't expecting that. But that was pretty darn cool. Well, anyways, for throughout the day, we're gonna have some cool little stuff going on, some more displays and some other stuff going on inside the main building here at the Kings Mountain Historical Museum, and some little things going on, and we'll kind of get some more information for you on the Barber House here, and also the White House down there. And also we'll be doing a little bit with the cooking here as well. So got some cool stuff going. Got some dual cooking here. Fire going. We're making some good foods. But anyways, checking in. We'll check in a little
Okay,
bit.
so I have a plate full of porcupines over here. It's not made out of porcupine meat.
Hey.
It's hamburger, and the porcupine is referring to the little rice grains. And once we fry them, the rice grains should stick out of the meatballs. So they're porcupine meatballs. And it was one of the food items that helped families to stretch the ration of beef hamburger. But you could also use pork, so you could do a mixture of pork and beef. And so these have pork sausage and hamburger mixed in with rice and a little bit of salt. And so we're gonna fry them in the kettle over here over the fire.
That right there.
Let's see. Now I'm trying not to get my hands dirty. Now this is working pretty well. Good. I can just roll them in. Oh yeah, this is good. This is big.
This is generally how you made those? Well,
Yeah,
maybe in an oven or whatever.
Yeah, well,
Some sort.
you know, most people would have had a stove of some sort to cook on. Some people would have still had maybe a wood burning stove. But there were electric and gas stoves already in the 1940s. And so this is going to just fry them, you know, just like you would on top of a more modern stove. And I
Okay.
grew up we ate quite a few, not exactly porcupine meatballs, but we ate stuffed cabbages when I was growing up. So we did the same thing. We put rice into hamburger and then rolled it up in cabbage leaves. And so cabbage was one of the really common foods that were grown in the Victory Gardens
Really?
during World War II.
That is so cool. Who would have thought?
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, yeah, I was reading, you know, it was encouraged for Americans to grow Victory Gardens as well as other countries, because you needed to send the vegetables over to the soldiers. And so by 1943, I believe there were 20 million Victory Gardens in the United States.
Really?
Yeah, so just in a matter of a couple of years, Americans had kind of stood up to support the soldiers in that way.
Well, even better. Huh.
Let's here.
Little booklets? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So this was a booklet that came from my mom, and she was a teenager during World War II. And so her name was Catherine Hudick. And so this was put out, and it has all different kinds of suggestions on how to save things. Because the idea during World War II, kind of on the home front, was not to waste what you had and to do the best job taking care of it, because you couldn't always buy something new. So here you can see there's, she circled something here about all-purpose flour. And so that was important to her family. And so it goes everything from food to clothing. And so it's a very special book to me because my mom marked things in it. So she did a whole paragraph here about it's a famous jeweler's secret, beauty lotion for jewelry. So she
Huh.
must have had jewelry she wanted to clean, but couldn't go to the
That's
store
pretty
and find
fascinating.
cleaner. Yeah, so all about, kind of how to save things.
So all kinds
So
of cool
fix
stuff.
it yourself. So here's a guide about, kind of fixing things yourself. And so, yeah, different companies, and I'm not sure who produced this. Looks like a general booklet. And then another booklet that came from
For wartime suggestions.
and you can see her name is up here. So it was her book.
Okay.
And it's put out by the Frigidaire Refrigerator Company.
Really?
So appliance companies got into it, one, to keep their name out in public because they were no longer producing refrigerators for the American public, right? All that metal that would go into a refrigerator needed to go to the war effort. And so instead, it's, it tells people how to take care of food items. And so they were worried, people have a certain amount of food they could buy kind of through the ration system. And so you want to make sure you store it and it doesn't rot. And so I thought foods that must be refrigerated and foods that can be refrigerated if storage space is available. And then foods that do not need to be refrigerated. So they helped the American public to know kind of which foods you could just leave on your counter, because it was important to, make sure that things that needed to be cooled, you have space in your fridge.
So it's kind of like eggs and stuff. I mean,
Right.
if they're like farm raised
Let's
eggs.
see what it says here about others. So they tell people, you don't have to put vinegar, dried spices, split peas, popcorn, unopened canned and bottled goods. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Except for fresh milk and cream. And yeah, when in doubt, store in your refrigerator. So I think this is a really cool little book. And then it gives a bunch of little recipes that
Yeah,
kind
cool
of
stuff.
give you ideas of kind of what to make, kind of with things that you could buy with your ration tickets. So leftover recipes were also very common.
Oh gosh.
So
That'd be my favorite book. Well,
yeah, and so you can see like this meat pie, it uses a bunch of leftover vegetables, and of course, ideally, you have a victory garden that you're growing, and you kind of use what's coming out of your garden. Or let's say you're a city dweller and you don't have a garden, maybe you have canned goods. And for one recipe, you only need half of a can of a certain type of vegetable. Well, you could go to this book and you could see, I could put in my half a can of potatoes, and so you could mix in anything, and still produce a meal. So anyway, and then the back of the booklet has my mom's writing, buy war bonds and stamps for victory.
huh? Now
Yeah.
that's always good to have. I mean, hey, why not? What better way to do it than?
Yeah, and you can see her initials again, Catherine Hudick. So a very special kind of belonging for me, kind of from my mom.
Yeah, it's always good to have those little books around, though. And
The coffee cans. So these date to the early 1940s. But people were asked to go into their homes, into their garages, and pull out all the metal that they didn't need. And and then of course, coffee was the second food that was rationed during World War II. And I'm talking about America. And so once people had turned in their coffee, the coffee companies were no longer producing cans. Instead, they started bottling it in glass jars. So this is a World War II Hills Brother coffee jar.
huh? Well, that's pretty interesting.
Yep. And the ration amount was anybody who was 15 or older, you would get 1 pound of coffee for every 5 weeks.
That wouldn't last very long in my house. I'd go nuts if I had that
So
kind of ration.
you get less than a cup a day. And so one of the ways you could deal with that is don't throw your grounds away. And you use those grounds again, and you create something known as Roosevelt coffee. And that's a much better name than, reused ground coffee.
Oh yeah, it's one of those darn things, and just the rationing. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people who, you know, especially with me, it's like, oh, great. Well, here's my opportunity to lose some weight, you know, with the rations and stuff, you know. And
Well, and it was very important actually to properly nourish people, because going into, like right after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, when men started enlisting, a lot of men were rejected from the armed forces because of malnourishment. And so that also became a drive with the
corn and tomatoes,
rationing,
just cook it in
was, you know, to teach people, well, you need to
We're gonna make a
maybe
buttermilk
use
salad,
lentils
so
in
I'm
your
getting the
cooking,
buttermilk,
use
the buttermilk.
chickpeas,
And we've
you
got
know,
some
use meat, use
Kool-Aid.
liver.
Gotta have
You can maybe
Kool-Aid.
cook beef
And we've
tongue,
got Jell-O
and
going.
you
So I'll
needed to
make
get the
some.
nourishment up,
For
because
the
your young
afternoon,
men
we're
are going to have to
make
go off
a
to war, and they're going to have to
molasses
be properly
which
nourished. And
is
so I think
uses
that,
really just molasses.
and these were the sayings for men. I'll just read them.
okay.
Eat the right food. U.S. needs us strong.
Some of your other things for rations.
And the first aid to nutrition is your refrigerator, and vitamins are vital for victory.
Well, that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, thanks for sharing. Making some porcupine meatballs right here. And the reason why those are called porcupine meatballs, as Miss Barbara described, is because the meat shrinks up a little bit as they cook, and the rice, pieces of rice stick out, and it looks like a porcupine.
Yeah.
Pretty fascinating.
Yeah, that's a good one. You can see the rice pieces sticking out. And then I'm going to cook up another batch, or I've got to make another batch of meatballs, and we're going to have some meatballs that have breadcrumbs in them. Oh, and here's a burned porcupine.
Even better.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Maybe we can just burn the whole batch so I can have them all.
No. William, you know, this is World War II cooking, so you have to realize you have to share the bounty.
Oh yeah,
I
of
want to make
course.
sure everybody has their proper share, so we're going to ration the food today.
Oh yeah.
So William is not going to get all of the porcupine meatballs.
Of course not. Never. Never.
So here's her meatball, the porcupine meatballs.
Hey y'all, this is just checking in here at the Kings Mountain Historical Museum here. I just wanted to give a little bit of information on the cabin here. This is actually the Robert Barber house here on site. Not original to the site itself. It was actually relocated. Just going to kind of walk the exterior a little bit for you. I'm gonna go inside in just a minute, but this is the exterior of the fireplace here, a garden here and stuff. Got some rosemary and sage and some other little cool things going on here. This building was believed to have been built between 1810 and 1845. Of course, they had brought it over and placed it here on this particular site. A lot of cool jazz, so that's the cool thing. But usually whenever they do that kind of stuff, it has to be done really carefully, as you can imagine. This is the house from afar, but anyways, the Robert Barber and his son John, or son of John Barber of York County, and his family were actually have been believed to have been the original owners of said house. But let's go look at the inside a little bit. And of course, this is the rest of the inside of the Barber house. There's a cooking demonstration going on here.
And I will get the liquid.
There is an upstairs to this house, the cabin. Let's play a little game. Name that item. I know what it is. You ever wanted to know where the term sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite came from? Well, it came from these beds here. They used to have the tool to tighten up the beds here, tighten up the ropes here on the side, and used it as a way to tighten the beds and do it every night. And they used to hit the, they used to stuff these sacks with straw, hay, or whatever they had in the area. Unfortunately, bugs were inside, of course. Unfortunately, not too much you can really do, but used to hit it to get the bugs out. Another one here. That's a chamber pot right there. Well, that's the barber house. So this is part 2 of the
Porcupine meatballs.
porcupine meatballs, in which we are adding flour
Flour and allspice.
and some allspice, and in which we have added the said meatballs into some water.
Water and tomato juice.
Tomato juice.
We did not throw away the tomato juice from the canned tomatoes because we're showing World War II cooking, and so you wouldn't throw out a food item like that. So you could just put that into the meatballs.
Oh yeah.
And a little bit more. Burning my hand.
Hi there, how are you?
You would use flour as thickener.
Yeah, if I can stop the moving of it. I need a
Can add here.
Yeah, absolutely.
When to get started.
Yep, right now.
Alright. Well, this is a ANPPN1A drop zone radar beacon. It's a first generation automated direction finder, and its sole purpose was to guide aircraft. You can use it in a variety of different roles. Paratroopers use it to guide aircraft to drop zones, and OSS special operations folks use it to guide bombing aircraft for night bombing missions. It is a 30-pound device that is 3 boxes essentially. You have your battery box, and you have your power supply and your transmitter. The battery box carried 3 dry cell batteries that you actually needed an electrolyte solution to fill up in order to get the batteries to work. Which is cool because it actually has a battery indicator on the batteries, so it lets you know how full of charge the batteries are based on colored floating balls, which were in the batteries themselves. Got a picture of that here somewhere. That's the detonator for the self-destruct device. Like in the event of the drop zone was canceled or overrun, they could destroy the device and get off the drop zone.
I think that would be back here, right?
That's that red cap right there on the back.
Huh. That is pretty darn cool.
It is the first page of it's actually the destruction notice of what to do to prevent capture. And that's what it's set up.
Overall, okay. That's pretty darn fascinating. Now, as far as the detonation part, how big was the detonation?
Very small. It was only small enough of an explosive charge. You gotta remember, this is pre-transistor radios. This is all glass tubes, vacuum tube technology. So you only really needed it to be strong enough to shatter the glass tubes inside the device to render the device unusable without replacing the tubes, which you couldn't get. So you would do that, and then you would smash the remaining tubes and then set it on fire to make it unusable and then bury it. It's all lined out in the destruction TM. I call it the 4 Bs: the blow it, bean it, burn it, bury it.
That's interesting. Well, that's one way to do it.
Oh yeah, it's a wild thing. And here's a There's a circuit diagram of the interior if you wanted to see that.
And what was the range on something like this?
So they would turn it on, they would only turn it on once they heard aircraft in the air. Because this could be direction found, they wanted it operating as minimally as possible. So about 15 miles out from your objective, they would start hopefully transmitting. And this would get you to within about 2 miles of the objective. At that point, the pilot and aircraft commander are looking out the windows, looking for visual signals on the ground indicating that drop zone so they can navigate to it visually. At night for D-Day, it was lights. There were like emergency runway lights that were put on tripods that they would put in shapes and colors depending on the drop zone. So for drop zone O for the 505th outside of St. Mary Glees, it was green. So green teams. You had 3 teams per drop zone. The drop zone was for a regiment, and each battalion's put a team forward for that regiment. So 1st Battalion, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Battalion. A Pathfinder is essentially a beach master of a drop zone, of a landing area. A beach master's job is to tell everybody where to go once they get off the beach. Because their commanders have come to the beach master and said, hey, I'm setting up my command post over there by that building. So when everybody gets off their landing craft and approaches the beach master, say, hey, I'm in 3rd Battalion. No, 3rd Battalion's over there. Go, get off my beach. You make room for the people behind me. Drop zone's the same way. You land, you take your parachute off, you grab your rifle, you go over to where the Pathfinders are. Hey, I'm in 1st Battalion. Okay, well, I talked to 1st Battalion's commander when he landed because he came to me and told me, hey, your headquarters is over there. Look for the blue lantern in the tree. And that's how they would do that. They would actually use a lantern, a color-coded lantern, to mark their assembly area. And for the 505th, it was a green lantern corresponding. For daylight operations, they would use air panels.
Path to the evac hospital. Make a path. Medic.
Wounded coming in.
Wounded coming in.
So we're gonna go over.
Yeah, well, yeah. Go over whichever ones you want.
All right, I'll just start from the top, move to the bottom. This here is a Walther P-38, used by the German military from the 30s up until 45. This here is actually an original. It was chambered in 9mm. Fix that right there. Chambered in 9mm. You can see right there.
Okay.
Has Bakelite grips. Mainly used by officers. Not many enlisted men use them. That goes for the Luger as well. This one here was made in 1915. Used throughout World War I, World War II. Also chambered in 9mm Luger.
Okay.
This specific one here has all matching numbers on it. It's pretty neat. You can see 27 all over this thing. Moving on over. This is a Colt 1911, chambered in 45 ACP. Used from, of course, 1911 up until basically present day, but with different models. Has a little lanyard hook. Whenever they came out, the cavalry would use them in World War I, so they needed something so they didn't drop their guns
It's a little
out
different.
in the mud. Moving down here, we have the Paratrooper M1 carbine. Usually developed for World War II. The originals that came out had a full wooden stock, but this one here is specifically for paratroopers. It would fold down and go into a holster on your leg.
Make it easier for landing and all that stuff, though, and just
That's
general.
right. It was chambered in 30 carbine, very small round. I don't have a magazine over here to show you, but a lot of guys chose this over the M1 Grand because much lighter.
What's the weight difference between,
This one here feels 2 or 3 pounds, and I guess I'll just move down to the Grand since I mentioned it. This one here is probably about 8 to 10 pounds. This one here is chambered in 30-06. There's the M-block clip right there.
Nice.
This clip here would hold 8 rounds of 30-06 in it. You load it in through the top, drop it,
That'll do it.
and then you're ready to go. And whenever you're done, like it did before, it pings, and that means you need to reload. This one here was made in the early to mid 30s, and saw use throughout World War II, Korea, and some of Vietnam. This specific one here saw use throughout all of World War II and Korea. This one here, actually, the barrel got so hot in World War II they had to replace it for Korea because the rifling got melted out. So this one here has a pretty big story to it. Here is the 1903. These here are used throughout World War I and some of World War II. This one here is a World War II variant of it. Also in 30-06, it had a 5-round magazine, but most guys would load it 4 rounds because it was kind of dangerous, because for some reason whenever you overloaded it, it would fire off the gun. So, and this one here is a bolt action, not semi-automatic. So, yep, that's about it. You have any other questions?
Oh, hey y'all. Figured I'd check in with this last house right here at the Kings Mountain Historical Museum site. This is the, right here, as you can see in the background, is the George Washington Cornwell house. This particular house was, well, I guess a little bit of backstory on it was, in 1876, George Washington Cornwell purchased land from the, from brothers William Andrew and Jacob Samiri Monet for the purpose of constructing this particular house. It was actually, I guess originally it was located on 106 King Street, Kings Mountain. And of course the house consists of a center hallway. Unfortunately, the house is locked up currently and not able to go inside, but there is a hallway to the as soon as you walk in, kind of a center hallway type of deal, with a room on each side, and of course front and rear door, as well as the porch, as you can see right here. We're just kind of cleaning up from the World War II event that we had today, but it definitely has a little bit of history behind it. Hopefully sometime in the near future we can get some more information on getting inside the house and give you all a tour of it, hopefully. Anyways, there's some pretty cool stuff going on in here. Kind of walk around the house, kind of show you a little bit of what it looks like. This is obviously not the original site of this house. It was relocated. As mentioned, it was originally on 106 King Street. Anyways, this particular house is actually located, as mentioned, at the Kings Mountain Historical Museum. So if you all ever get a chance to come down here, and of course check their Facebook page and check their website at Kings Mountain Historical Museum on Facebook, located in Kings Mountain, North Carolina. This right here is actually the Robert Barber house. This house was built between 1810 and 1845. I think it's like a federal style architecture. Definitely a pretty darn cool house. I know I gave a little bit of a tour earlier. If not, you have to check out my other video on the World War II event here at the Kings Mountain Historical Museum. But anyways, this is the kind of walk, and sorry I'm a little out of breath, but this is the main museum building here. If you all have a chance to come by, this is the back area where you all would park. But you're definitely going to want to check out their hours. Give them a call if you can. See when they're open and see for hours and all that stuff. Just as kind of as a little viewing point. Definitely a great museum. I'm going to try to walk to the front for a better viewpoint, but definitely a good site. They have all kinds of information, just general history. They oftentimes have some events here, like for example, like this World War II event they have. Then of course in December they have another one, and all that stuff for like Rev War and 18th, 19th century. Here's the advertisement for the event, for World War Memory right here, kind of for their little museum that they have on World War II going on. The event was today. The main event for the actual viewing what we saw today was on May 20th. But anyways, definitely a pretty cool little site. If you all can stop by. Of course, this is the actual sign. I'm sorry about that. But this is the museum parking here. Anyways, come on by this site. It's a great area. Downtown is right over here. Surrounding area, pretty safe. The police department's right there. Anyways, come on by the site, and hope you all enjoy. Have a great rest of the day.